There's a certain irony to modern tourism that I've come to call the planning paradox. It goes something like this. The more people who visit a destination, the more planning required to have an actual enjoyable experience there. Let me explain why spontaneity is now luxury's final frontier. We're constantly bombarded with images of carefree travellers, discovering hidden gems and stumbling upon perfect moments. The travel influencer leaning against a pastel wall in Positano, the couple spontaneously enjoying sunset aperitivos on a Roman terrace, the solo wanderer getting lost in the charming backstreets of Venice. What fascinating coincidence that they all stumble upon the exact same photogenic locations. Truly remarkable serendipity. This is Don't Even Go There. And today we're examining the uncomfortable reality that the world's most romanticised destinations, those very places you associate with carefree wandering, now require the planning precision of a military operation if you want to have anything resembling an enjoyable experience. In the 1970s, the concept of a Eurail pass and a backpack represented the pinnacle of travel freedom. Show up, see what happens. How quaint. Today, that approach in Barcelona means you'll experience the authentic joy of paying €25 for microwaved paella while sitting next to other tourists who made the same critical error of spontaneity. The relationship is painfully inverse. As a destination's popularity rises, your ability to experience it without meticulous planning plummets. This is the planning paradox in action. The paradox intensifies. The more Instagram tells you to get lost in Venice, the less advisable actually getting lost becomes. Unless, of course, you particularly enjoy paying €12 for a coffee or queuing 90 minutes for a gondola ride alongside a chorus of influencers performing the exact same experience. When 30 million people visit Venice annually, an entire economy emerges specifically designed to separate the spontaneous from their euros. It's less a city and more a sophisticated filtration system, extracting maximum currency from the unprepared. The difference between a local and a tourist isn't just an address, it's knowing which gelato shop serves actual gelato versus coloured corn syrup to people who won't become repeat customers. Allow me to introduce a scientific-sounding but entirely subjective scale I've developed. The planning coefficient. It measures exactly how much preparation is required to avoid having a thoroughly mediocre experience. On the low end of the scale, rural Japan. Show up, be respectful, let serendipity guide you. The planning coefficient is a gentle 2 out of 10. In the middle range, Paris. Book major attractions in advance, have backup restaurant options, know which arrondissements to focus on. Planning coefficient, 6.5 out of 10. And at the extreme end, Venice during Carnival. Without advanced planning, you'll have the authentic experience of a €70 mediocre dinner while standing in a queue for a gondola that costs more than your flight. Planning coefficient 9.7 out of 10, with an additional spontaneity surcharge for good measure. The truly terrifying aspect? This coefficient is increasing annually for most destinations. In 1995, you could book a Venice hotel 2 weeks before arrival. By 2010, 2 months. In 2025, you'll need to book before the hotel is even built, possibly before you've decided to have children who might someday visit Venice. We travel for the unexpected, yet increasingly spend our preparation time eliminating any possibility of actually experiencing it. Consider the modern pre-trip ritual, virtual tours of every museum, street view walkthroughs of each neighbourhood, restaurant reviews cross-referenced against 3 different apps, weather patterns analysed with meteorological precision, the ultimate over-tourism tragedy, planning so meticulously that you've essentially experienced the entire trip before leaving home. It's travel pre-gaming, taken to its logical, joyless conclusion. The financial mathematics of spontaneity are brutal. That one unplanned day in Barcelona will cost you 40% more and deliver 60% less authentic experience than your carefully orchestrated days. Every hour not spent planning for Venice is approximately €50 added to your daily expenditure, with a corresponding 15% reduction in enjoyment. These figures aren't peer-reviewed, but they're emotionally accurate. The most painful expense? Time. Those 3 hours queuing for the Sagrada Familia because you didn't book ahead, that's 3 hours of your finite vacation irretrievably lost. No refunds available. And the psychological cost, navigating overwhelming crowds while desperately searching for food because you've miscalculated walking times between attractions, creates what psychologists might term leisure stress, the peculiar anxiety of failing at relaxation. But what if I told you there's a more revolutionary approach to the planning paradox? The most elegant solution isn't better planning, it's questioning why you're determined to visit over-touristed destinations in the first place. Ask yourself, why exactly am I fixated on Venice? What experience am I actually seeking? It's often just an image that made an impression years ago, a fantasy of drifting down picturesque canals in blissful solitude, the precise opposite of what you'll experience alongside 30 million other tourists with the same fantasy. Start by researching off social media. Instagram and TikTok are essentially tourism propaganda ministries at this point. Instead, look at actual maps. Read books about regions, not top 10 lists. Consider population density and visitor statistics. They're far better predictors of your experience than photoshopped influencer content. The transformative approach is seeking places where tourists are genuinely welcomed, not merely tolerated. Northern Portugal offers similar wine experiences to overcrowded Tuscany, but locals still express genuine pleasure at your presence. Japan's Shikoku Island delivers breathtaking coastal scenery without Amalfi's bumper-to-bumper tour buses. Slovenia's Julian Alps provide dramatic mountain vistas that rival Switzerland's, but with welcoming villages instead of industrial tourism. These places share a critical quality. They still view tourism as an exchange rather than an extraction. You're a guest rather than a commodity. The economics haven't yet tipped toward resentment. When a local gives you directions, they don't silently calculate how many more like you their hometown can absorb before becoming unlivable. And here's the brilliant part. These destinations require minimal planning. Your time investment shifts from strategizing around crowds to actually learning about the place. Spontaneity becomes possible again. Serendipity returns from its forced exile. The planning paradox presents us with an uncomfortable truth. The more popular a destination, the less it rewards spontaneity. Perhaps the true sophistication in modern travel isn't knowing where to go, but knowing how much planning that place demands of you. The most enviable travel skill today isn't finding hidden gems, it's knowing exactly how much preparation is required to have an authentic experience without scheduling the life out of your holiday. This has been Don't Even Go There. And remember, while everyone's fighting for photos of the same sunset, there's an entire world enjoying the sunrise in peace.